Hello, I'm Gary Allen, and I'd like to welcome you to an exciting project for us. By way of review, if you recall last time, we had some old steps that were very worn and even dangerous. We pulled those out, come in and formed up and poured concrete, a combination of patio, stairways, and stepping down. Then we've come in with a brick accent with support walls, columns that'll have caps on them, and adding beauty to this. Now, today, we complete this project, adding our colorful portion on a designer's landscape. We've still got some fine tuning on the brickwork, and even for these caps, we'll come in, for the columns with a concrete cap that'll look nice, and we've ordered those, so those will be here later. Let's go back again and reflect what we had when we entered the project. The old steps I mentioned were really somewhat dangerous, hard to maneuver, and I guess they had served their purpose. So our first initial goal was to come in and remove the combination of the concrete pads and the railroad ties, and really to come in and form with a step-down procedure that was going to be friendly, easy to use, but functional too. Now, erosion was a major problem also. So this support wall, the stem wall on both sides, is really helping our slope and our grade, where we'll keep sod on one side and then add plants, or the beautifying part, over here on the inside. So most of the work you'll see today will be spent over here, mainly because of our water feature. This is the center attraction. It bubbles out of here and trickles its way down to the base or the bottom. And so the steps in the stairway, even patio at the end, really flow along with the fountain or the water itself. Do you remember we had some big boulders over here that were so huge we couldn't move them by hand, so we had to use an electric jackhammer to break them up into sizes that we could navigate or put them around the property. Well, now we can, since we have rock over here and none over here, it'd be nice to kind of set a few in here for decoration so we can get a little continuity or flow. The steps are easy to navigate, and I want to show you too how with this little brick patio, we need to make the landscape so attractive and comfortable here that it just makes you want to come down, sit, relax, and enjoy the ambiance of the atmosphere. I really also wanted to show you another perspective, and that is when you're down on the base, the bottom, because all of this should really come together and be beautiful, not only on the trip down, but once we get down and kind of look back or peer back up the hill. Let's use this incline to really take the picture up so it's really makes an impact, like you said. We want to bring in 3 trees. We've got East Palatka hollies that are evergreen, keep their leaves year-round. And so I'm thinking with the 3, let's tuck one in close to our patio down here. Then we'll drop one really across the way here for some balance. And the 3rd tree, I'm thinking about somewhere up in here that'll create this triangle. Let's move them into place, get them installed, and see what an impact initially they'll make. So we begin by installing our first East Palatka holly up top, close to the retaining wall, followed by our 2nd tree over on the left side. And finally, after removing some of the rocks, we place our 3rd tree to create some asymmetrical balance, or our triangle. Now, what if you live in an area or a part of the country that East Palatka hollies are not available? Here's the concept. What we've placed here is an evergreen tree that does not lose its leaves, so it won't be a mess in here. It's not a big shade tree. It's what we call a patio tree. It can be trimmed or shaped or pruned to any desired height. Now, you may make a local substitution to make this concept work for you. Very close by is the exact same genus and species, an East Palatka holly, one of the American hollies. Again, this one is left basically unpruned. It's got about a 10-year start, but it shows you what can happen with pruning or without. kind of lining up across the water feature here, a staple plant. Where I'm going to begin with the boxwood, and I say staple really because boxwood are found all the way from the hardy, zone 2, different varieties, all the way down to the tropical. Again, a staple because it's dependable, it's green, it's not a fast grower, and it can be individually pruned here so that we maintain a little bit of this integrity. Again, green, okay, that's all right. I'm trying to kind of link up this side across the water feature to here, and I probably won't be able to do that consistently throughout, so we're going to just work right in here inside the steps. And I think to have something other than green, let's use the loropetalum. It's going to be a beautiful burgundy color in here with these lovely little fuchsia flowers. Can you tell that this plant is a low grower? I mean, look at the overall growth habit. It's not busting out of the pot, it's cascading over. So this is going to stay lower under here. We'll do the same thing by bringing some over for a balance. Now, we like to talk about mixing up and contrasting our foliage colors so that we're not so dependent on flower color or just a little seasonal splash. Well, we can have this contrast built in for January as well as June or July. And that's the goal. Okay, I've got just a few more of those to place. Dan and I were just looking at this, the loropetalum, and how this gold would really look nice jumping off or with it. So we decided here to take these last 3 off. So we'll leave our base line or our back line and come in with some gold contrast here. Now the lantana can cascade right over the rocks a little bit to soften. Blooms all summer. And you see it working with that burgundy or maroon. Change this guy down here and him right there. I love the way these colors look together. And look at that bloom. Super duper. So we've done that on both sides. It seems to me too, for a tropical flare or splash, the African iris is going to really do its job up here close to the entrance. Now, we still have to acid wash the bricks and clean them up. So we won't install these today, but I want to set a few up. I think we can even continue over the wall here. And we'll regroup these, but the idea or concept is that we do our balancing act and then somewhat hide this little hardware area. So maybe one more here. I've also got some blue Pacific juniper that I'm going to make application for down the hill. I've got some Nandina firepower here that I want to use. I found a concept, and that is off the stem of this wall, since it ends in pretty much abrupt little kind of fashion. What do you say we go outside the wall and then curve around with a little radius of Nandina, and we can let these get a little tall, in other words, to conceal the corner somewhat. There, in other words, this bed is going to float out towards you. We'll use these guys maybe in the backdrop. Doesn't that work at least? We just want to see a curve instead of this square. Now the blue juniper, the blue Pacific, I'm thinking right down in here with the low side of the rocks. What we want to do is find a way to stagger them a little bit and just kind of coat the whole area. We're going to need time for these to somewhat fill in, and then across the way. Under the crepe myrtle tree, and I'm going to pack them in here, so to speak. These little ones need a little time, so we'll get some more and just fill them in here, make them solid. That's another blue contrast though. Looks good. Now I hope that you'll be able to see things a little more clearly, that The plants are recessed without the buckets kind of sticking out. We need a few more juniper here, but I want to kind of get you to take a walk with me and show you some of the things we've been developing or working on, even across the water feature on the other side here. More juniper, again, like I mentioned, to fill in. I think we're going to bring them all the way to touch this patio. I like that blue color, especially the way it looks on the brick. Aztec should look good on this brick too. I guess across the way, I want to show you the use of the Nandina here. So we do have a little bit of balance. Now, I said at first I wasn't going to radiate or continue all the way in this part with the lantana and the lower pedalum, but I feel compelled to do that. And well, let me show you why. Is because I felt like if we did something different in here, it just wouldn't include our picture. Again, come on in and take a look, because we need more lantana, we need more lower pedalum, but at the same time, I feel like it's going to balance our act and make it all appear as one. Now, when we get our water feature up and going, filled with water and working, it'll look even better. We now turn our attention to really a very important and intricate part of our landscaping, and that of night lighting. Here with nightscaping is Doug Alderman. Doug, good to see you today.
Nice to see you, Gary.
Doug, tell us, please, about the lighting for this particular home site.
Be glad to. Our lighting concept on this project, Gary, started at the front entry, where we did some subtle accent lighting around the ornamental iron gates, the brick columns, and the address numbers. As you enter the property, you're greeted to a very spacious circular driveway. Within this space, we did perimeter lighting to not only establish the boundaries of the property, but to lead the visitor to the front door of the home as well.
And so ultimately, we have this lit, what we see behind us, the home.
Yes, sir. We used an uplighting technique on the home, uplighting it as a grand focal point, obviously, and one of the bonuses was the reflected light that gave silhouette to the topiaries and the lion statues.
Oh, super, super. Now, so Doug, as far as the backyard, I mean, did you have to create focal points, or were there enough in place for you already?
Oh, there were more than enough focal points, Gary. The backyard was certainly a challenge. A perfect waterfront setting for relaxing or entertaining. Mm-hmm. We addressed, number one, the safety issues with the new walkways, landings, and the steps, where we located fixtures within the brick columns, as well as we staggered our fixtures along the walkway.
Very nicely done.
To navigate the visitor through the space.
Now, you had something special down there as well to turn our attention to.
The water feature, certainly the center of attraction, Gary. We illuminated the water feature from two sides, adding dimension and depth, and we took two very controlled spot lamps and aimed them at the weirs, or where the water goes over the edge of the rocks. Right. We created a little bit of visual interest with a couple of decorative fixtures. We used a lantern type fixtures that would downlight some of the rocks and plant material, as well as we used a little fixture that presents some random sparkles. And kind of the neat thing about that is the mirror image that you see when viewed from the opposite side of the pool.
Very nicely done. I mean, now, Doug, I know you worked hard with this big 14, 15-foot drop, trying to keep the lights out of everyone's eyes if you're on the lower deck.
It was very, very important, because this lighting subject was viewed with appreciation from every direction. And obviously, we wanted to take a real concern in seeing the effect, not the light source itself.
Doug, a job well done, professionally put together. I know the homeowners here, as well as their friends, have really come to a great appreciation of what landscape lighting and night lighting is all about.
It was a very rewarding job for us, and I know the clients are going to love it.
There's just no doubt they are going to love it. Now, as we begin our little review, if you will, and recap, I must say that it does give me great pleasure to take a project like this and go from beginning to end. And really, we're starting here at the front, which we spent last episode remodeling. The homeowners had the whole face of this house remodeled, and so likewise, the landscape should follow suit. and it does pretty well. I want to talk for one moment, if I can, about lantana. You see us use it quite a bit. Why? This is why. Color. Loads of color all throughout the summer or warm season months. If you're up north, again, you could still use lantana as an annual, and I encourage you to maybe try some of it. Now, it's a perennial for us here, which is excellent and lovely, where it comes back year after year. It's very strong, though. As a potted plant, it takes the drought, it takes the heat really well, so it can work as an overflowing, cascading type potted plant. I kind of use the gold a lot because even though it does come in a large array of color, I particularly love the gold because it blooms a little heavier. The butterflies like it, and like we said, it adapts to pruning and just provides that color. So much for our lantana. We really see it doing its job here to kind of balance us in, give us accent on both sides. Looks good with the brick. I want to bring you over here so we can reflect and review all the work that took place in this little corner along the fence. Originally, this was all concrete. We came in with a concrete saw and cut out this long rectangular space that you see now. And in order to get irrigation there, we jetted underneath the driveway. But removing all this, we put it in a dumpster, had it hauled off so that we could bring some holly trees in here and give us a little bit of screening, if you will. See the house in the background, so softening. We had this long wall, just like it is back there. And I think this is doing the job. A lot of hard work here when you go back and reflect on what it looked like originally. But now we've got trees, we've got irrigation and plants and lighting, and it looks good, and it works. It's a part of the driveway that really wasn't highly used, so we didn't steal any space, if you will. Let's continue in the back. Looks like it's getting a little stormy out here on the waterfront, but come on, we're going to take a walk anyway. Can't wait to show you how things have come together. And we begin right here at the pool patio, where our new combination of concrete and brick walk begin. Even the border makes a nice accent. So we're heading toward the steps, and all of this should look new to you. The columns with the caps now all complete. Combination of concrete and brick really works. Then you're not caught up with so much brick because we used it, see, on the walls. And then we used repetition with the steps as well as some of the expansion joints. Now we had our first test of rain as well, and so we passed that. Glad to know that. So this wall again acts as a combination retention and then for beauty using the brick. And hopefully you can hear our waterfall coming into sights and sounds. We are going to go back and reflect on all this in one moment, but I couldn't help but take you along with the enjoyment of seeing what the homeowners and visitors get to enjoy just coming down the steps. Now, what do you think too about this little patio? We placed it in all brick, and then this was a little special feature too. I find that where three walkways come together, it's nice to do a triangle type of expansion joint rather than just in straight lines, and it breaks it up and gives it a little artsy feel, because see, we're a little fatter here. So, leading to the gazebo, back to the dock, and now turn around and enjoy the view from the bottom. Not exactly one of those weekend projects, huh? This one took us a while, about 30 days from start to finish. I'll see you next time. I'm Gary Allen. So long.